Okay, good morning, everyone. Was waiting for a quorum. It appears we do have a quorum of the Finance Committee in the room now. I'd ask the members to move their seats and everyone to assemble to a seat. We've got a fairly heavy docket this morning, a few complicated issues to wade through, so we want to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, to this meeting. I have one issue that I'd like to take up right away. Okay. That will be the first issue. Clerk, call the roll.
Roll is open. Please vote aye.
Clerk, close. Whoop.
Quorum is present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Okay. Well, procedurally, we have one item that's on our docket this morning. I've just been approached by Senator Reeves. He has a bill that will be very simple if we put it off and allow a substitute to be drawn, which is not available today. So at the request of Senator Reeves, I would ask that the Senate Bill 462 be passed by for the day. Is there a motion? Sure. Motion properly supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, 462 is passed by for the day. All right, Senator DeSteffe, you're up first, and you're one of our complications for the day. So,
well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Co-Chair, and members of the committee. One of my wonderful helpers, I believe, emailed everybody last night. He couldn't be here. He has a procedure this morning. But if we'd like, we can put off two of the complicated ones until he can be here, or I can present them and just kind of go through the details. We chatted about it last night, and I got with Senate Finance this morning to get the details and better understand why there's a financial impact when I personally believe there shouldn't be. But we can take up those two, or we can take up the National Guard first, whatever the committee would like.
whatever your pleasure. Are you asking for those bills to go by for the day?
If we could, that'd be great. I could have him help speak, but I think he's sent an email, and I can certainly talk to all of the issues as well. But I know that he would appreciate being here, if possible.
So, Norma, what do you think about that?
We always welcome citizen participation, particularly when they're being informative. And, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest we pass it by for the day. But as I mentioned on the floor yesterday, we've got to stop this. And that's not a criticism of you, Senator, by any means, because we're going to be looking at a tsunami at a time that we don't want to do it. So with the assurance that regardless of whether your citizen is present or not, the next time we'll take it up and deal with it.
Mr. Chairman, that would be, Mr. Co-Chairman, that would be very much appreciated. So that would be Senate Bill 869 and Senate Bill 579. I know that he would
869 and 579.
And I know he would certainly appreciate it. But again, as I said, I'm more than prepared to talk about everything and all the details. But he would add to it, and I know that he would much appreciate being here in front of this.
Okay, we will extend that courtesy to your speaker. Is there a motion that Senate Bill 579 and 869 be passed by for the day? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, those bills are passed by for the day.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chairman, I have one more bill that we can address today. There is not a financial impact on this, but there truly is a financial impact. So I'm going to address both sides of the issue as I introduce it and tell you what the financial impact is. I'm not sure if it just hasn't made it out yet, but in full transparency and honesty, I would have it no other way to make sure that when you make a decision on a bill, you know that you are making a decision on all the appropriate information, both positive and negative, that I can provide. So Senate Bill 570 basically makes it eligible for members of the National Guard and Reserves to be eligible for in-state tuition. So what happens are members of the National Guard and Reserve who live outside of Virginia but drill in Virginia. I believe that it would be beneficial to provide those individuals an opportunity to get in-state tuition since their duty station is in the state of Virginia. And that way we wouldn't penalize them for their residency status being outside of Virginia. VMI has stated that there is a financial impact on them. That they have 12 individuals who are currently going and attending VMI who are in the Guard or Reserves. and live outside of the state that would impact them at the tune of $25,688 apiece for a total of $308,000. With that said, and General Williams, in his August 2006 white paper, has stated that he would like as many cadets, I believe I'm pronouncing it properly, as humanly possible to be in his leadership. So at the possibility from his standpoint is he'd like to push an upper limit of recruitment from VMI and get closer to 80 out-of-state students into VMI to get through their leadership. And again, his preference would be to have the maximum possible of 80, which would put, not this year, maybe not next year, but somewhere in the out years, a financial impact on this of about $2 million. Again, General Williams, being the Guard General, would like to have as many members who have gone through VMI as possible, because that hits the basis of what he's looking for leadership in the Guard. Again, I don't blame him. I think it's a great idea to offer it, but I would be disingenuous if I did not give you the full story and why on both sides of this.
Okay. Senator Norman?
Mr. Chairman, before I make a motion to pass this by indefinitely, the general and I had a conversation about it last year, and I told him I might be more receptive if he was willing to take out of his budget a save harmless provision to VMI. There are only a few cadets right now, but the concern is in anticipation that that number could rise as high as 80. VMI certainly would be very receptive to these out-of-state students coming in and going through the leadership program, but we would also like for them to pay the out-of-state tuition just as every other out-of-state student would do. And while I understand where you are coming from, and my background, I mean, my father landed on the beaches on D-Day and survived, probably much to the chagrin of some in this room. Having gone to VMI and also served in the military, so I'm very supportive of them, but I just don't think this is a good approach or a vehicle that's conducive to VMI's mission. And because you've done your homework, you also know that because of VMI being a small school, that there is a disproportionate impact on dollars, because they're at about 108% the last time. So when you have cuts or you do something like this, it has a greater impact on them than other schools. So.
Okay, Senator DeSteff, do you have anyone here to speak to the bill briefly?
I did not specifically bring anyone on this, and I will tell you that I believe I spoke pretty good for the National Guard. I know they're here today.
Right.
Well, they just walked out of the room, but I told them beforehand that I was going to provide the fiscal impact, and again, I'm not trying to hide anything. I want my bills to pass on their merits, and I want you to have all the information possible.
Right.
So,
anyone here speaking in opposition to the bill? Okay, Senator DeSteff, I think you've explained the bill well. I think we understand. We had this bill in front of us, I think, in 2016, year before last. Mm-hmm. So what is the pleasure of the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to pass the bill by indefinitely, with all due respect to my friend, Senator DeSteff.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion to pass the bill by indefinitely. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, open the roll.
Roll is open.
Record your votes. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 12, nays 0.
Ayes 12, nays 0. The bill is passed by indefinitely.
thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Senator DeSteff, and we'll see you next week then on your bill.
I'll make sure my helper knows that we're on for next week. Thank you very much.
Okay. Have Senator Sturtevant up next, Senator Chafin, Senator Deeds. Senator Norman, could you chair? I'm going to handle this bill with Senator Deeds. This is 547.
All right, if I could direct the attention of the committee to Senate Bill 547. Senator Deeds, we would be sort of delighted to hear from you.
Well, I appreciate it, Mr. Chair, and I'm honored that Chairman Hanger is co-chief patron of this bill. What this simple little bill does is allows Bath County, I mean, it doesn't say Bath County, it doesn't say the homestead, but it allows Bath County to have a public hearing and by ordinance, raise the lodging tax 5 cents on the homestead. There's been a hotel at Hot Springs since 1766. Yeah, to make well, there's been a hotel in Hot Springs since 1766. It's been the basis of the economy in Bath County. Between the 1890s and the 1990s, one family and a closely held corporation owned the homestead. Since then, there have been 3 different ownership groups. The Omni came in there in 2013, and they provided some stability, some economic stability to the area. But what they found is an area that's in need of probably $70 million in capital improvements. This lodging tax would allow Bath County to leverage private money, probably in the range of $3 or $4 private sector to $1 public sector to reinvest in the property. The way the bill's drafted, it'll only affect one property. I've got, I almost forgot to hand it out, copy of a resolution from the Bath County Board of Supervisors, and you've got the county administrator and representatives from the Bath County Board of Supervisors here to
I
speak to the
expect
bill.
you, considering you and your influence in the co-chairing, that this bill is probably in pretty good shape. Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was excited about this proposal primarily because it represents a significant investment in Bath County and a renewed commitment to continued operation of the homestead. And since we have some folks, we have representatives of the ownership that have flown in here from Dallas. We've got representatives. I just like to make some quick comments rather than expounding on the merits of the bill.
We are always delighted to receive guests from the Lone Star State. You're not from the Lone Star State.
Unfortunately.
He's a Texan.
You may be a Lone Star, but you ain't from the state.
Ken Hutchison, on behalf of the Omni, I'd like to welcome up Mike Smith, the Senior Vice President for Real Estate Development for TRT Holdings, which is the parent company of the Omni.
Good morning. How's everything down there in Texas?
Very good, and thank you, committee members, for allowing us to speak. And
Well, we love
be
you
here.
because you're making an investment in Virginia, so anytime you want to put more money up here, we'll love you more.
Well, that's what we're trying to do, and so I'll be brief and just give you a couple of background points. Our company bought the Homestead Resort in 2013, and so we've had about 3 or 4 years now to operate and understand the operations of the business and the capital needs in the property. And what we've done at this point, we've identified capital needs to both, restore the homestead and to enhance it and bring it, step it up from the level that it is. The estimated investment, depending on exactly what's done, is somewhere between $35 and $70 million. And in order to find a way to justify the economics of the investment, we've been working with the local stakeholders in the community, Bath County, and some of the local residents. And we've identified a public-private partnership opportunity that would help justify the economics of the investment. And the bill that's being proposed is the bill that would allow that type of public-private partnership to occur. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us, sir. We appreciate it. Anyone else who'd like to be heard from?
Yes, we also have representatives from the local community, the Board of Supervisors, who passed a resolution.
Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Good morning. Jonah Wyndham. I own the Vine Cottage Inn in Hot Springs, and we support, when I say we, meaning the small lodging and dining operations in Bath County, feel that the homestead is a cornerstone in the bringing of tourism into Bath County. And we certainly want them to be successful. With their success, we're successful. So we would certainly encourage you to look kindly on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service in local government, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name's Eddie Hicklin. I'm with the Bath County Board of Supervisors. And the resolution you have before you was passed unanimously by the board, and we fully support this.
Thank you for being with us, sir. We appreciate it. Anyone else, Senator Deeds?
Yeah, I think that's it.
We have a number of people here from that area, but I think you've heard enough.
You've heard the flavor.
Right, right. This, I think, a unique proposal, which will, again, the exciting part for me was why I was willing to be a patron with Senator Dees on this. It represents a significant investment here in Virginia, a commitment for longevity of the homestead. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, you used a word I don't like in policy decisions, and that's uniqueness. Everybody thinks their own bill are unique, but
This is one.
there are other merits that perhaps that way. Any member of the committee have any questions of the patrons? Senator Obenchain, yes, sir.
Yeah, help me understand this. Am I to understand that this is a tax on, I guess, guests at the homestead?
It's an increase in the transient occupancy tax.
For guests
For guests at
at
the
the homestead?
80% of which, 80% of whom are out of state, from out of state, 80% of the revenue comes from payors who are out of non-residents of Virginia.
And this is going to be revenue that's going to be pumped back into the homestead?
It's pumped back into Bath County, and Bath County will, match it with money that the Omni puts up, yes. It'll be pumped back into the homestead, yes.
So the homestead is going to put up some of its money?
Yes.
And guests at the homestead are going to be putting up their money to fund this improvement. So this is, how much, 5%?
It's 5%, but if you look at the properties that the homestead competes with regionally and nationwide, Bath County has a pretty low transient occupancy tax.
So-
And this still will be competitive with
Mr.
other
Chairman,
properties.
so why can't the homestead just raise its price 5% and pay for this themselves?
I guess they can, Mr. Chair, and I apologize, Mr. Chair, Senator Obenchain, I guess they can, but, with a property such as the homestead that's been part of the community since 1766, and it really is part of the regional economy, it makes sense for there to be some sort of partnership. We talk about economic development all the time, and this property is absolutely critical to the economy in Bath County, and it makes sense for there to be some sort of skin in the game for the local government, I guess.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I mean, isn't this just a way of hoodwinking the guests and saying we're going to still charge you the same amount that you're used to paying to come to the homestead, but it's the mean old tax collectors of the state of Virginia who are charging this extra money? And, I mean, aren't we just hiding the ball and engaging in corporate welfare here?
Mr. Chair, I guess everybody can try to see it the way they want to, but I don't see it that way at all. I mean, when you go to Chicago or New York or anywhere else, you're going to pay 11 or 12% or more in transient occupancy tax.
Well,
Senator
but isn't that for a wide variety of purposes as opposed to pumping the money into some Dallas corporation?
Well, Mr. Chair, I respectfully disagree with Senator Obenchain. We are not pumping money into a Dallas corporation. We're going to see real improvements on the ground in Bath County.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I mean,
Senator Obenchain.
isn't there just one recipient of this money? One?
At
Not like Chicago, just one company
And Mr.
is going to get
Chair,
this pot of money.
Mr. Chair, Senator Obenchain, and one property is going to be subject to this transient occupancy tax increase.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator
it's not
Obenchain.
one property, it's every single person, wealthy person, I might add, but who goes to the homestead, not one.
Mr. Chair, Senator Obenchain, but it's one property. It's one guest at the only guest at the homestead, guests at the other properties in Bath County. And Mr. Wyndham, who's representative of the other properties, the Vine Cottage Inn, and I'm sure you've all been to the homestead. The Vine Cottage Inn is right on the right up the road from the homestead on 220.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Senator Obenchain.
so if I've got a property in Rockingham County, and I draw legislation narrowly enough, why shouldn't I be able to tax all my guests in order to build an addition on my corporate property? I mean, isn't this going to be something that we can do all over the Commonwealth of Virginia? Why on earth would we do this?
Well, Mr. Chair, this is a mix of public and private money. It's a way for the state to leverage private money to invest in Bath County.
You want to add Rockingham to this?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a bill, Mr. Chairman, I do
like
have a
Senator
bill,
I'd
another
like
bill
to
on
add
the docket.
Lacey Spring to it.
Senator Hanger.
Mr. Chairman, I do have another bill on the docket this morning to increase the transient occupancy tax in Rockingham County.
Well, I expect we'll deal with
Is that for
today.
one property?
Mr. Chairman,
Just a moment, get control here. You guys are getting apoplectic this morning. Senator Sasslaw.
what's the, out of curiosity, what's the current transient occupancy tax right now?
It's 4%,
4%, so we're talking 1% more.
5% more
Oh, you're going up five, so it'll be 9%.
at the homestead.
You know, when my wife and I got reservations at various hotels in Europe, they didn't quote me the transient occupancy tax. And let me tell you something, 10% or 9% in this case is a drop in the bucket compared to what they nail you with once you leave the U.S. So I don't see where this is such a big deal. If they want to add that to the cost of staying there, if you can pay $300 a night or $400 a night, you can afford another $15, $20 on the bill. It ain't gonna bankrupt you.
Well, most of our poor boys can't afford to go to the Riviera, so, on that. Any other member of the committee have any questions? Senator Wagner, yes, sir.
Just a comment. I mean, from Virginia Beach, where we've done this routinely, and we're looking at an arena and set up special sales tax, whether that deal goes through or not, is still, the jury's still out on that. But we did set up special tax, sales tax, allowing that, and really, quite frankly, the benefits would go back to one operation. But the greater good of the community to bring an arena in, or the greater good of the community and the economic impact that spills beyond just the borders of the one owner and whatnot. I think we made that decision on this committee many times, and I intend to support the bill.
Okay. Any further questions? If not, a motion would be in order.
Move to PBI.
Okay.
Substitute motion to report
All
the
right,
bill.
it says primary motion is to pass the bill by indefinitely. Was there a second to that motion?
To report the bill.
No.
Senator Sasslaw, the primary motion was by Senator Obenchain was to pass it by indefinitely. Is there a second? Hearing no second, the substitute motion offered by Senator Wagner was to pass the bill. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that Senate bill pass. Is there any further discussion? If not, if the clerk would open the roll, all those in favor of passing Senate Bill 547, note by your vote.
Didn't open up for you here.
It's coming.
Where the heck is
There he
it?
goes.
Ayes 9, noes 2, abstain 1.
All right, the bill is reported 9-1. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got one other bill, 687, and the aim of that bill is to reduce the minimum sales tax. I think sales tax on vehicles. We hit a lot. I understand. I'm going to suggest something in just a second, but I want to point out that in 2013, when we did the transportation bill, we penalized a whole lot of people who end up buying
Now I
clunkers,
understand.
$500 cars or whatever they need to drive, and they could pay 15% or more for sales tax on that car. When you raised the minimum sales tax from $35 to $75, that was a last-minute throw-in to that 2013 bill. However, I understand that this would create a $16 to $17 million hole in the Transportation Trust Fund, and so I would suggest that I would like the bill just stricken. Strike the bill.
Strike your bill?
Strike the bill.
Okay. Thank you, there, Senator Deeds, for that wonderful thought. At the request of the patron, I would entertain a motion that the bill be stricken. Motion properly supported that the bill will be stricken from the docket. Clerk, open the roll. Cast your votes. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 12, nays 0.
Ayes 12, nays 0. The bill is stricken from the docket. Okay, Senator Sturdivant.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Thank you for hearing my bill. This is Senate Bill 746 before the committee this morning. This is a bill, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, that is brought in previous years. It's a bill to both reform the accelerated sales tax and to phase it out over time. As I know, all of you know, the accelerated sales tax mandates that retailers in Virginia with sales over a statutory threshold have to pay their sales tax for both the month of May and the month of June by the end of June. The normal tax filing schedule, of course, requires that sales tax be paid on a monthly basis, but only for the prior month. The problem here is the statutory threshold for the accelerated sales tax was about $48 million in annual sales back in 2014. And over the last several years, we have lowered that threshold to only $1 million in annual sales as of 2018. And it's that decrease in the statutory threshold for the applicability of the accelerated sales tax that's caused 6,000 additional retailers to be subject to the accelerated sales tax payments. And as a result, the retailers will tell you, and they're here today to speak briefly to this bill, is that as a result of this reduction in the threshold to $1 million in annual sales, there have been lots of small businesses that have actually had to go and take out loans in order to meet their accelerated sales tax obligations. So what this bill does is it does a few different things. It limits the General Assembly's ability to lower the accelerated sales tax threshold by more than 10% in any 1 year when that threshold is $15 million or less. The current process where the threshold fluctuates from year to year causes cash flow problems for small and mid-sized retailers in Virginia. Many of those businesses are already operating at very small margins and don't have it in their budgets to pay the extra sales taxes in the month of June, which has resulted in many of them having to go out and take out loans to be able to meet these obligations. This bill also requires the Department of Tax to provide earlier notice of any changes in accelerated sales tax payments. The way the process works now is that these notices are delivered in the month of May for an accelerated sales tax payment that's required to be made the following month in June. This would require it be backed up and notice be provided at least 9 months ahead of time rather than just a month ahead of time. The bill also waives some of the penalties that get tacked on to these late accelerated sales tax payments that are made. It adopts language that includes elimination of the accelerated sales tax by 2020, so it phases it out over time. And then one of the new pieces that we added this year that you've not seen in prior legislation is to require the Department of Taxation to provide an easy online application for hardship waivers for those who are especially impacted by the accelerated sales tax at the current lower threshold of $1 million. And unless the committee has any questions on this bill that you've seen before, I know that the retail folks would like to speak briefly.
Sure. If the representatives of the retail industry would like to speak briefly, that would be fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Katrina Jones with the Virginia Retail Merchants Association. The senator has done a great job of explaining some of our concerns. We're just looking for some equity and some movement on this. It really is one of our top concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Next.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Kate Baker with the Virginia Retail Federation. We also support this effort by the senator and we appreciate his work on this.
Okay.
Nicole Riley with NFIB, Mr. Chairman. About a quarter of our membership is retail and small mom and pop businesses. Many of them fall within the newer lowered threshold to $1 million. It can be very difficult for them to make that payment. And so we support Senator Sturdivant's bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill? Senator Sturdivant, I know you've worked on this, and we've all been concerned about this policy, which was first implemented to kind of shore up some deficits that we had. We've attempted to study it, or we asked for a study in the past, which was really not as conclusive as we had hoped it would be. there is some language in the budget, or proposed language in the budget, that would put together a more detailed study. Would you have a problem if we carried your bill over so that we could work on this over the next year to see what would be the logical thing to do as far as benchmarking levels of participation on this?
Of course, Mr. Chairman, my hope would be that we do something substantive on it this year. I think it's a matter of fundamental fairness, but I also understand it does not have an insignificant financial impact. And so to the extent that we can move the ball in the right direction, even if it's a small move, I would appreciate that.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the committee? There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion properly supported to continue the bill to the 2019 session. Clerk, open the roll.
Roll is open.
Cast your votes, please. Clerk, close the roll. Whoop. I'm sorry, can you keep, strike the vote, please.
And the vote is open.
Okay. All right, clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is continued.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sturdivant. Senator Chapin.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm here on Senate Bill 879, and I'm here with the request to pass the bill by for the week. This bill was only filed Friday, this last Friday, and I'm still working with the work group to make substantive changes to the nature and character of the bill, and I would ask for the committee's indulgence.
Okay, I'd understood you were working on a substitute, and that substitute's not ready?
It's not ready.
Okay.
It's not ready.
Is there a motion that we pass the bill by for the day, 879?
Reluctant.
Motion properly supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 879 goes by for the day.
Thank you.
Did you have one other bill on the docket today? Or is that tomorrow, I believe?
I believe tomorrow.
Okay, thank you,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Senator Chapin. Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff have put in my hand a substitute for my Senate Bill 120, and the substitute is fine with me. It actually removes any fiscal impact, so it would be particularly fine with you, probably. The intent of my bill is the same. It would direct ABC to set up an advisory committee with representatives of institutions of higher education. The purpose of the advisory committee would be to come up with education, prevention, and intervention strategies regarding substance abuse. And according to the substitute, the advisory committee would be advisory to a program that ABC is already administering, and it's
Okay.
called...
We've had a substitute distributed. Is there a motion that we adopt the substitute? Motion properly supported to adopt the substitute for Senate Bill 120. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we have the substitute in front of us, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I was just going to say that the advisory committee, which my bill establishes, would advise a program that's already being operated by ABC. It's the Strategic Unified Prevention Program that ABC is already operating. So
Okay.
I would respectfully ask
Okay.
that you
Does
keep
anyone here
this
to
in the budget.
speak in support of this bill or in opposition to this bill?
There's a representative from ABC if you.
ABC is okay with this? Yes. Okay. I think that's, unless you want to expand on that would. Yeah.
I was just going to just suggest that there's no fiscal impact the way the bill is written currently.
With the substitute?
Yes.
I got a question.
Thank you.
Senator Norman has a question.
I realize that this may be an amplification of what you're doing already and aspirationally. It indicates in the language of the substitute, the goal of the advisory committee shall be to oversee and advise the board regarding higher education, alcohol, and drugs strategic heads-up program. What do you think about that?
ABC's position on this was that we were going to incorporate this into our college programming the way it currently is implemented. We also have a similar program, the Virginia Office for Substance Abuse Prevention, which is a network of peer-led and student health coordinators around the state. So this would be an oversight role in helping guide ABC in those type of collaborations.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Norman?
ABC is currently undertaking a similar program, is that correct?
Excuse me?
ABC is currently undertaking a similar program?
Correct. The Heads Up program is ABC's modification of a regional tour concept. So we were in the midst of changing our strategies of how to provide training and resources to colleges for substance abuse prevention. So this bill kind of strengthens those programs.
Mr. Chairman, are you currently at least sensitive to input from the colleges and universities?
We welcome and seek the input from the colleges and universities.
And Mr. Chairman, have you managed to do that without a codification that another board would have oversight?
I would say that we've had better luck at some universities throughout the Commonwealth.
Okay, the further questions from ABC to ABC? I have one question, then myself, since Senator Norman highlighted it, and to Senator Favola. Do you have the oversee, is that integral to your bill, or is it advise what you want to do?
Advise is integral to the bill. Oversee is not a word that adds
The goal of the advisory committee shall be to...
a useful element to this.
What's the pleasure of the committee? Would the committee...
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Senator
I'll make
Barker.
a motion on 923 that we strike oversee and, so it states that the goal advisory.
Oversee
committee
and?
shall be- No, strike oversee and.
Okay.
So it goes.
Is
shall
there a
be
second to that?
advise.
All right, motion probably supported. All those in favor on line 23 to strike oversee and, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we have the substitute in front of us as amended now. What's the pleasure of the committee? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 120, Amendment Nature Substitute, as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by casting your votes. Clerk, open the roll. Cast your votes. Ayes 15, no 0. Thank you, Senator
Thank you,
Favola.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Peake.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm here on behalf of Senate Bill 192, which is a lottery recovery bill. We're simply trying to add TANF to the list of items that can be recovered from lottery winnings. And I will tell you that TANF proceeds we're kind of following the New York statute in this. They are recovered in New York. We're trying to add them to the Virginia statute, and that is the substance of this bill. I was a little surprised by the cost estimate from the back, but I think this sets a good precedent. TANF, temporary assistance for needy families. If those folks are using this money to buy lottery tickets and they happen to win, I think the state should recover the money that they've paid. And this money comes straight back into the program and then can be used again for needy families. That's the substance of the bill.
Okay. You referred to a fiscal impact. I don't see any known
Right.
amounts here. Maybe I'm looking at the
Projected
wrong place.
cost,
Do
yes.
we have somebody from the lottery here?
Not fiscally, under fiscal implications.
Okay. Could we have someone from staff help us on this?
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe the lottery is here today, but the fiscal impact potentially would be the systems changes needed on the DSS side, which they have indicated that they can use TANF balances for.
They can use TANF monies to do that?
That's my understanding.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate
you.
that, Sarah.
Based on that information,
Okay. So is anyone here to speak in support of this measure or opposition to this measure? Okay, it's I guess a policy decision for this committee as far as whether or not you think it's appropriate then to follow the lead of some other states in recapturing some of these TANF monies that have been expended if someone happens to successfully win a lottery over $25,000.
And I will, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I will say in New York, they start at $600. We started at a higher amount so as to be less intrusive. So we set it at a very high amount, see how it works. And if they are going to use that money for lottery tickets, let's get it back to give it to needy families.
Okay. Senator Newman?
Just briefly, Mark, I don't know that I care so much whether or not we recover the money. What I am concerned about is just the raw amount of purchasing using the lottery by people who can't afford to do it. And we're just doing the wrong thing by people to encourage them to use the lottery, and then they ended up needing our assistance on other things. So, Mr. Chairman, unless there's further discussion, I would move that the bill be reported.
Motion, there is a motion that the bill be reported. That has been seconded. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by recording your vote. Clerk, open the roll.
Roll is open.
Okay. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
Ayes 12, noes 3. The bill is reported, Senator
Thank you,
Peake.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Okay, Senator Stanley.
He has been called, so.
He's
Information is supposed to be on his way down. This is his item.
okay. Senator Edwards has a bill, Senate Bill 822, who is still sick. Chair would entertain a motion that Senate Bill 822 go by for the day.
Second.
Motion properly supported that Senate Bill 822, sponsored by Senator Edwards, go by for the day. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Senate Bill 822 will go by for the day. All right, we are awaiting a couple non-members, but we are in a position now to take up member bills if we have members that have bills on the docket. Senator Ruff and then Senator Donovan.
This is earth-shattering legislation.
Okay.
I think 137 jurisdictions understand what's taxable and what's not taxable. The one county had a little problem, and the Commissioner of Revenue decided he wanted to ignore horticulture as an exemption under the state law. So this just adds as defined by that section of the code.
Okay, so yours is a clarification of what agricultural products must be exempted from local property taxation. Any amendments that you need on this?
I don't think so.
Anyone here to speak for or in opposition to this particular bill? Okay, we've got some agriculture folks back here.
Mr. Chair, I know when not to delay. So Katie Frazier with the Virginia Agribusiness Council. We're grateful to Senator Ruff for bringing this clarifying legislation before you, and we support it. Thank you.
All right, Agribusiness Council, Farm Bureau.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Andrew Smith, Virginia Farm Bureau Federation, we support the bill.
Very good. Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Senator Ruff. Anyone else for or against? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Move to report.
Motion properly supported that Senate Bill 314, as presented, be reported. Clerk, open the roll.
Roll is open.
Record your votes. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported,
you.
Senator Ruff. Thank you. Is Senator Mason now in the room? Oh, right, okay.
Senator
Senator Mason.
Yes, sir.
We're anxiously awaiting your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm anxiously awaiting the opportunity to speak to you, Mr. Chairman, and the members of the committee. I'd like to start by saying I love NAP credits. I love NAP credits. I love NAP credits. They are an incredibly important part for all of our nonprofits. Nothing that I do in my perennial effort here should be misconstrued as not asking this committee to put more money towards NAP credits. Our effort here is they're at 65% credit, dollar for dollar. So what large nonprofits down to very small have asked me over the period of time to slowly lower that so we can accordion them and have them go farther. So I also asked the committee if you can come up with any tax credit, dollar for dollar, that's 50%. This would still be a spectacular tax credit. And my local, I've always been able to say that no one locally is against my bill. But the folks here that are going to be against my bill have made my Lackey Free Clinic president the president of their organization, so I can no longer say that. So at Lackey, they cap NAP credits as the doctors can only get up to $3,000 worth. My bill would cost them $450 a year, dollar for dollar, to the tax credit. So,
Senator Mason, you and I talked a little earlier this morning
Yes, sir.
about your bill. We have an advisor on these types of bills
prominent advisor, right, Mr. Chairman?
We have, earlier this morning, and Senator Dunn, but this would apply to one of your bills as well, we passed by a couple of Senator Steph's bills so that we could have an opportunity for our advisor to work with them and for us to understand. Would it be helpful to your bill? I know your bill is different, to put it all in a package for next week after the stakeholders have sat down and worked with this, or do you want to go ahead and proceed with your bill?
I'd be fine with that, Mr. Chairman. I don't think the folks that are against it are going to like it much better. One challenge this year is the federal change in tax code. I am seriously concerned with a lot of my nonprofits and the change in the tax code and what that's going to mean to nonprofits. So I think this year, in addition to them making the argument that some of the doctors wouldn't participate, which quite candidly, sir, I don't believe, I think they're feeling some pressure and stresses with the federal tax code that might even make them more anxious this year. But, Mr. Chairman, last year we talked about this, something we're looking at. 50% is a heck of a good tax credit, and it would, absent us putting more money into the program, which I would seriously suggest that we all look at, I think this would extend them further and help a lot of people.
Okay. Do you have people here that you want to speak to it today, or?
Some folks that are against it.
Against it, right.
Yes, sir.
I think we know
not for
them.
it.
You folks that are against it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do have Steve Cast, who is the president and chief executive officer of the Virginia Peninsula United Way. We just merged the Williamsburg United Way with the Lower Peninsula United Way, and he was, when he was with Boys and Girls Club, was one of the folks that asked me, so maybe Steve could say just a couple quick words.
We certainly would extend that courtesy, particularly in
Thank you,
case
Mr.
we
Chairman.
may pass it by and it not suit him to be here next week.
Thank you. I'm so glad this is not the Transportation Committee, because I just sat in traffic for 2 hours and I have to go to the bathroom. So I'll be really, really brief. The United Way of the Virginia Peninsula and all of its agencies in our large geographic area support this Senate Bill 518. Our nonprofits are under a little bit of pressure now based upon some changes that have gone federally. And 50%, we've talked to our donors, we've talked to the agencies, and everyone's in support of this. They still think it's generous. Without expanding the number of credits, this is the best way to arm our nonprofits to go out and do the great work that they're doing. So I have a lot of people behind this and support it, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your coming. I think there's someone, you speak in favor? Against? Okay. All right, if you could come ahead then, if you want to say briefly why we should not report this bill.
My name's George Becker. I'm on the board of the Soho Center, which is a 45-year-old nonprofit. We give away 300,000 or 400,000 books a year across the whole state, about $4 million. We do it with the help of NAP credits. I'm not here, however, to talk about Soho. I think the issue here is not to fix something that isn't broken. I think at the moment, all NAP participating organizations can choose to go below the 65% if they wish. If it works for them, that's great. If those who want to use it at the 65% level and it works for them best, I think they ought to be allowed the free choice of doing that. The truth is that NAP just did a poll of all of the NAP organizations. My understanding is they overwhelmingly came back against this bill. It seems to me that choosing what works best for each organization is the way it ought to be left. Right now, every single NAP tax credit that every one of these organizations has is used up. So it obviously works. It doesn't leave anything on the table. And it works for these organizations. It obviously helps them do it. It certainly helps us. So what I'm basically saying is I'd like to have a little bit of free choice. Leave it as it is. Every organization can choose 65, 50, 35, 20, whatever they want, and I presume they're all smart enough to figure out what works for them. To arbitrarily force it down without, and into an area where groups can choose to do it at 50 if they want, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So for that reason, we're against it. We're going to continue to try to do what we can for the kids in Virginia. This helps us. We choose it at 65%. I think most organizations don't want this bill.
Okay, thank you. You're in opposition? Okay, just briefly.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Catherine Zappick, and I'm with the Virginia Association of Free and Charitable Clinics. We oppose this bill because it will harm our ability to maintain our current pool of nearly 7,000 licensed healthcare providers who volunteer in our 60-member clinics across the Commonwealth. These providers, they provide more than $180 million valued of medical, dental, pharmaceutical, behavioral health services. And our member clinics use these credits to recruit and retain volunteer providers, as well as to recruit and retain donors. The current valuation up to 65% gives the clinics flexibility to use these as they will to reward their volunteers for providing such valuable services. So we are opposed to the bill changing this valuation. And as previously mentioned, with the federal tax reform, we feel that doing anything else, especially with these tax credits, would discourage donations to the nonprofit sector and particularly be damaging to our member clinics.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And one more person will speak briefly in opposition.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gina Becker. I direct the Soho Center. I've been doing that for 45 years, and we've been part of the NAP program for over 20 years, including when the credits were 40%, including when the credits were 45%, and once it became 65%. Every year, you and your colleagues on both the House and Senate side for the last handful of years have had the wisdom to leave the program unchanged, to let every group set the rate at the rate that it works for them. We are working in every community statewide. Every Head Start program gets books, multiple children's hospitals, hundreds of after-school programs. The only way we can do what we do is because we spend less time fundraising and put our efforts on program services. And you've had the wisdom to leave it untouched before, and I really hope you will this year too, especially with the changes in the federal tax code. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Senator Mason?
Real quick wrap up, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for the opportunity to roll my bills. We really do need to look at the educational versus social services side because social services is stretched extremely thin. So I thank you for that opportunity. Also, last point, Soho does phenomenal work. Do books across the state. They have a one-pager on their website that shows you how if you give them $10,000, you'll make money on your taxes with the 65% tax credit. I'm not certain that's what the committee did decide.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, and I'll give you the option, I guess, at this point, if the committee will.
I think we can move along.
Just move it? You
Yes,
wanna
sir. I
move it?
appreciate your offer. That's very kind, but I think we should.
Okay,
We know.
all right. What's the pleasure of the committee?
That's the wrong one.
Motion properly supported that the bill be passed by indefinitely. Okay, any further discussion?
What is that?
Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Record your votes. Clerk close the roll. Oh, Dick, you got yours in? There you go. Okay.
There you go.
Ayes 15, noes 1. Thank you, Senator Mason. Senator Stanley.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. You've got 172 on the docket,
Yes,
it looks like.
Mr. Chairman, Senate Bill 172, and I believe there's some line amendments Ms. Wallmeyer so diligently did for me.
Mr. Chairman, there's a series of 5 line amendments that the clerks in April are passing out. I'm happy to read them if you would like.
Are these, look like they're technical amendments?
Yes, sir, these are, yes. They don't
Okay,
make
so a
any-
motion that we adopt the series of technical amendments to the bill? motion properly supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Oh, thank you.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We have your bill in front of us, hopefully in proper format.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank
Senator
you.
Stanley.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Senate Bill 172 is a bill that this is a repeat of a bill that passed out of the Senate 40-0, came before this committee and was passed out unanimously. It does not require any appropriation. What we have is of course, we have a fund which we use for students with disabilities or those at or below the poverty level in terms of giving those parents of those students who may be at those levels or have those needs, who might otherwise not be able to afford the ability to make a choice for their children if the public schools are failing them, to have a scholarship be given to them to pay for their private school. What we had in the bill, which of course has been, this program now has been around for some time, is we had it from kindergarten up, but what we didn't have was eligibility for pre-K. What this bill basically does is expand the pool of eligible students who might not otherwise be able to afford this education and their parents to afford this education to pre-K, which I think is essentially important. I'm one of the Republicans who believes in pre-K, and I think we should make this opportunity for everybody, especially when we're talking about working families or those that are at or below the poverty level, in order for them to try to better themselves. Pre-K offers an opportunity where the child is there at school where they can work or get skills, workforce training.
Senator Stanley, this bill we saw last year, it didn't survive the House. We've endorsed this concept before.
Yes,
Senator
sir.
Donovan, you have a bill that's similar. Do we need to work on them both at the same time?
Yes, sir, I think it'd be appropriate. I will note that mine is more simply elegant than Senator
Yours is more
Stanley's.
elegant?
But mine does address the issue of making these funds, which are in surplus, available to pre-K. It also does remove what's perceived as a penalty, which is whereby if those funds are not distributed by a certain calendar month, that they must be paid back at 200%. 100% is perfectly reasonable, but penalizing a program that's helping us educate children, I think, is a mistake. So those are the only two changes, and we could work together on that. Yes, sir.
Senator Donovan, do you want the bills to be rolled together and then you amend them, or what is your pleasure? Because you're going to be a little bit in conflict if we report two bills.
It's, Mr. Chairman, I'd only say that mixing elegance with southern, backwoods country lawyer might be, a bridge too far, but I'm willing to do whatever.
I would not want to, I guess the question is, by rolling together, are we jeopardizing the possibility of the simpler bill getting passed? Because I do think this is an important concept.
Are you, Mr. Chair, I'd ask the gentleladies, are you saying sacrifice my bill for your much more elegant and simpler bill?
All right. Senator Stanley, Senator Donovan, I've been informed that if we roll them together and adopt your education positions, policies, and your penalty provisions, that it could work together. Would you all be agreeable with that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would be.
Okay, is there a motion that the bills be rolled
Second.
together as chief co-patrons with the educational provisions of Senator Stanley's and the penalty provisions of Senator Donovan's? Motion properly supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Senator Donovan, do you want to speak further to your bill, or are you comfortable with where we're at with this?
No, sir. I think the concept is just that we make these funds available to children at the 300% poverty level that don't have the opportunity for pre-K. This is something that we don't need to believe in. It does exist, and it's important. And kids that aren't ready for kindergarten aren't ready to be in our workforce 12 years later. And so I think if we have funds available, we should be giving parents the opportunity to make this investment.
Okay, the motion as it appeared to me was to roll Senator Donovan, your bill into Senator Stanley's bill, so it would be his number. You good with that? But you're both chief co-patrons.
I feel more elegant every minute that goes by.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this particular measure?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Felicia Preissner with the Virginia Catholic Conference. We support this bill to extend quality pre-K education opportunities to economically disadvantaged children. Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
I'm Grace Creasy, Executive Director of the Virginia Council for Private Education. We support this bill.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Chris Friend of the Family Foundation support both concepts that are in the bill. I think both of them are very needed. Thank you.
Okay. All right, very good. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill at this time? Okay. All right, what's the pleasure of the committee on this combined bill?
So excited to work with Senator Donovan, I can't stand it.
Second.
Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 172 with the addition of the more eloquent Senate Bill 553.
Not going to let that go, are you, Mr. Chairman?
Okay. For discussion, hearing none, clerk open the roll. Record your votes. Clerk close the roll. Whoop. Senator Wagner, you there?
Just try it again.
The vote is stricken. The roll is open.
Record your votes. Okay, close the roll.
Ayes 16, no zero.
Ayes 16, no zero. Senator
Thank you, Mr.
Stanley,
Chairman.
that was your one bill we had flagged that we could get out of here this year.
I will never be back here ever again the rest of the year, I promise. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, all right. That was a
Okay.
hollow promise. Thank you.
All right, Senator Donovan, do you have another bill?
Mr. Chairman, this is Senate Bill 268, and I believe we have a line amendment or a committee amendment.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, on line 62, after cost, insert comma or by such other method as may reasonably be expected to determine the actual fair market value.
Okay, is there a motion that we adopt that amendment? Motion properly supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment is adopted. Senator
Thank you,
Donovan?
Mr. Chairman. Speaking to the bill, this is a bill that gives our localities the opportunity to improve economic development opportunities. If you look at line 16, that was a line that we had put in, number 16 on line 58 by Senator McDougal a few years ago, which gave localities the opportunity to depreciate programmable computer equipment at a scale that would allow them to incentivize businesses coming into the community. In the process of recruiting for Facebook this year, Henrico identified that it would be equally advantageous and that there was perhaps an oversight in that language relating to computer equipment and peripherals used in a data center, and determined that that language needed to be cited separately. The amendment just aligns the same clause that says reasonably be expected to determine the actual fair market value. So this has no fiscal impact. It just allows the localities to recruit business to Virginia.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone here to speak in favor or opposition to this particular? Yes, you want to speak in favor of this?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Mike Sherman with the County of Henrico, and we thank the senator for introducing the bill, and we support it.
Okay. Anyone else here to speak either for or against this bill? What's the pleasure of the committee? I believe it gives more certainty in how these. Motion, is there a second? Second. Motion properly supported to report the bill, Senate Bill 268 as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll.
Roll's open.
Cast your votes. Clerk close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is
Thank you,
reported.
Mr. Chairman and
Thank you,
committee.
Senator Donovan. Senator Dance, do you want to move your bill?
Mr. Chairman, what I was going to ask, if I could have this bill laid on the table, because there is a question I have not been resolved from the.
Okay, then you want to just go ahead and pass the bill by indefinitely so you can work on it for next year? Is that what you're saying?
No, not.
Mr. Chairman.
Carry over.
Carry over for the day, you mean? Or for the year?
For the year.
For the year, okay. Is there a motion that the bill be continued to the 2019 session? Motion properly supported that the bill be continued to the 2019 session. Clerk, open the roll when you're ready.
Roll's open.
Cast your votes. Clerk, close the roll. Whoops, Senator. Got it, okay, good. Okay, ayes 16, no 0. The bill is continued to the 2019 session. Thank you, Senator Dance. Senator Carrico, you want to address yours? You can take yours up this morning. You got one down there too.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to come up here because I'm sure there's going to be some people want to speak to it. Senate Bill 495 is an attempt to try to address some salary discrepancies in the sheriff's departments. Currently, what the compensation board pays to the sheriff's deputies in a lot of localities, they're supplementing the sheriff's deputy salaries by 20% or more. However, there's a lot of, not a lot, but some counties across the state that doesn't supplement that sheriff's deputy salary. Some is 0, some are 8%, some are 10, 12%. In order to make up that gap, there's a need for about $4 to $5 million for law enforcement certified. If you were to include correctional officers, it'd be around $9 million. In order to address those localities that don't supplement up to 20%, is where this idea was conceived, to set a fund up to where currently they are producing dollars by adopting local ordinances on speeding through the fines, and have those localities that are law enforcement certified put 20% of those dollars into a fund to where localities can draw down and pay those deputies up to 20%. I know that a lot of localities oppose this because they don't want the money to leave there. I know a lot of localities use that money already to kind of write off the departments so that they can generate their own dollars to operate their departments. But I don't think that was exactly what this fund was, or the adoption of that code was set up to do. I think this is a way that I feel, because we just don't have the dollars to supplement those deputies. And these are law enforcement deputies that are actually creating the dollars. That's why it was specified for law enforcement. You can take 30%, just change the language from 80-20 to 70-30, and you can supply every locality that has correctional and law enforcement that would create up to $9 million that would cover that cost. That's the genesis of why the bill is here. It's just to try to address what has been brought to my attention about localities that are not able to support a 20% increase for the sheriff's deputies' ability to do so through a fund that we set up, and taking the fine 20% or 30%, whichever this committee chooses to do, money, and put it in a fund that they can draw down to do that for the sheriff's deputies. That's the reason for the bill, and
Okay.
I think you'll probably hear something from the other side.
Okay. First, I presume the sheriffs are in favor of this. You want to?
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to say they're all in favor of it. I didn't know whether to rise now or a little later, because it depends
Because
on.
you're for and against it?
It depends on who's paying the fees, and the sheriffs that are coming up with the fees and their fines, most of them do not care for the bill, but
Right.
the sheriffs that receive it, they're gonna get the 20% because their locality has not provided the 20%. But when we sent it out for a survey to the sheriffs, it was pretty much overwhelming concern about the sheriffs that would lose. So I don't want to stand up out of order, but.
Right, sure. Okay.
And I also want to express appreciation for Senator Carrico. This is a real issue, not only in his area, but statewide.
Right.
And the bill doesn't include deputy sheriffs that work in a correctional system, and we think that's very important also. Another point that one sheriff brought up, several sheriffs brought up, if the sheriffs are working with their localities to get not only supplements for the deputies' salaries, but for also for additional deputy sheriffs. The Commonwealth pays $1,000 to $1,500, and that's a shortage currently. But some sheriffs are concerned if the locality doesn't quite make the 20%, and they're forced to come up with the 20%, it may come out of the pot of money that pays for the extra deputy sheriffs, and that could result in a loss of deputy sheriffs.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sir Kirko, I think we would all agree that your goal, we would support your goal because we got to figure out a way to get more money to the local sheriffs. Conceptually, without hearing from the opposition, I don't know. Is this something you'd want to work on a little more, and we could continue the bill, or what would you want to accomplish today?
I mean, I don't want you to kill the bill if that's what you're asking me, but I do know that there's another bill that Senator Howe has that is a fee bill for court security that creates about $13 million. Is another way to address this, but it has to be purposed by this committee for localities to use it for that reason. The way it would generally operate would be that the localities would just get the money and no oversight of how it's spent.
Okay.
The problem that I see is you have law enforcement deputies right now that are out there basically generating an unlimited amount of money that the localities have found a way that they're self-operational by making them use the money that they generate. And I just don't think, to me, that just doesn't seem right. I think that's ticketing for profit. And if that money is repurposed by the General Assembly through a method like this, I think we take control of it. We basically tell the localities that you have an option. You can pay these deputies 20%, and there's money available to assist you in that, or you lose your money. And it's generated by law enforcement, and it's not coming out of our dollars in our fund that we don't have to pay them that 20%. So I understand the dilemma this committee is currently facing, and if this bill is carried over or passed by for the day, then I understand it, but I don't think that we have the ability to come up with that money right now that's needed to supplement these deputies.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator McDougal.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank Senator Carrico for bringing this forward. We've struggled on the Public Safety Subcommittee with this issue for a long time. You have a number of jurisdictions, particularly along the interstates, who are writing a tremendous number of local warrants. Historically, all warrants were written under the state code, so all the fines, fees, and costs were returning to the state. Now a number of jurisdictions, which they have the authority to do, are writing under the local ordinance or local code. And so as a result of that, those revenues which were coming to the state that we could return back to law enforcement are no longer coming to the state. Some jurisdictions are putting the money back into law enforcement. That's good. A number are not. I think Senator Carrico's effort actually is a way that we can make sure that money that is generated by law enforcement is being used to maintain our law enforcement system. So I'm personally supportive, and I would like to see this bill go forward because it's not a tax increase. It is making sure that the revenue is going to the direction where it should be going, and that revenue was there at some point. Now it's being pulled back and going, localities are using it for a myriad of different things. We should make sure that the revenue is going back in the right direction.
Senator Carrico, would you want to leave it on the table until we bring up Senator Howe's bill?
Absolutely. I think it can work in connection. I don't think it's any stretch to say that Senator Howe's bill doesn't create more money. And could be repurposed for that reason.
Okay.
And it could cover, cover correctional officers that is currently not in this language.
Okay. Is there a motion we pass the bill by for the day? Motion properly supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, the bill's passed by for the day. Looking down the list, I think Senator Norman had a bill that I think we want to have go by for the day. So Chair would entertain a motion on motion. Is there a second? This is Senate Bill 299. Okay. All those in favor of passing Senate Bill 299 by for the day, say aye. Any opposed? Okay. Sir Norman, I have 3 bills. Would you take the chair?
Be happy to, Mr. Chairman.
I think that covered the list except for mine, didn't it?
Yes, sir, it does. Which bill would you like to take up first, sir?
Mr. Chairman, Senate Bill 539 was referred from Rehab and Social Services to look for potential fiscal impact. The subcommittee, HHR subcommittee, heard this bill last night and recommended unanimously that it be reported. It does not have fiscal impact because it has a clause on it that this is the child day programs exemptions from license bill. It has a provision in the bill that indicates that if the Commissioner of the Department of Social Services determines that there's a fiscal impact beyond what they can absorb and what they can recoup from the child development block grants, that they would suspend and come back to us and ask for money. So I would hope that the committee would go ahead and report Senate Bill 539 to the floor.
Any member of the committee have any questions of Senator Hanger? Anyone in the audience who wants to speak in behalf of the bill? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the bill? Seeing none, ladies and gentlemen, Senate Bill 539 is before you. It's been moved and reported. Senate Bill 539 be reported. Any discussion? Hearing none, open the roll. All in favor signify by saying aye. The bill is reported. Your next bill, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senate Bill 818 is a bill that I referenced previously. This is a transient occupancy tax for Rockingham County. The Board of Supervisors, at kind of a late moment, passed a resolution and asked me to introduce a bill that would add Rockingham County to the growing list of localities that can impose a transient occupancy tax at a rate not to exceed 5%. The revenue attributable to the rate increase of 2% used solely for tourism and travel purposes. So I would hope, Mr. Chairman, that you would report Senate Bill 818.
Thank you, Senator Hanger. Anyone of the committee have any questions regarding Senate Bill 818? Hearing none, is anyone who would like to speak in favor of Senate Bill 818? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Chris Nolan with McGuire Woods on behalf of Rockingham County, and as the Senator mentioned, the Board of Supervisors unanimously supports the bill and hope that you'll act favorably on it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to the bill? Hearing none, ladies and gentlemen, Senate Bill 818 is before you. It's been moved and seconded. Senate Bill 818 be reported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify. All in favor. Can't get it out.
Close the vote. Ayes 14-0.
The bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The final bill I have in front of the committee is our conformity tax bill. This is Senate Bill 230. And, Mr. Chairman, I do have a substitute to offer for Senate Bill 230.
Senator Howell moves and Senator Wagner seconds that the substitute be adopted. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the substitute is before us. Would you like to share with us what the substitute does that the original bill did not do, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would share that, and I would say there is a sense of urgency for us to move this legislation, but when the original bill that was proposed for the conformity bill and the substitute, the difference is, as we examined this, there was one provision in the new federal tax law which changes the threshold for medical deductions from 10% to 7.5%. That particular feature, if we do not deconform, will cost us over the 3-year period that's open in front of us here now about $50 million. It was my position at that point in time, hopefully the position of this committee, that we should deconform. I've checked with some of the accountants and with the CPA group that gives us advice here, which I think is still here. They don't have a position on what we do, just as long as we do it quickly, so their practitioners will know how to handle tax returns. So certainly it's my position, Mr. Chairman, and we may be in a different position than the House at this point in time, and we will have to reconcile that. But it would be my position, Mr. Chairman, that we should deconform on this particular provision. And so with that, I would hope it would be the pleasure to report the conformity bill.
Any member of the committee have any questions of Senator Hanger regarding the substitute on Senate Bill 230? If not, is anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of it? Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
I am. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Emily Walker with the Virginia Society of CPAs. As Senator Hanger expressed, we do support the bill. We typically don't get involved in which provisions you conform with or deconform with, but timeliness is of the essence since tax season has already begun. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us. Anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Anyone who has a different opinion on the Senate Bill 2030? Senator McDougall.
Can you tell me what lines 44 and 45 mean?
I can't tell, yes, there we go, there you are.
The life raft has appeared.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm hiding over there. So to answer Senator McDougall's question, there are two provisions specifically listed in the bill that could impact both taxable year 17 and possibly even taxable year 16. On lines 44 and 45, there's a provision in the federal bill that extends certain benefits to members involved in combat overseas to certain soldiers who were involved in combat in the Sinai Peninsula. So there's certain types of exclusions for certain income while they're in combat or hospitalized, some certain benefits for surviving spouses that would apply to them. And we think the impact would be minimal from a revenue perspective.
Senator McDougall, does that answer your question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I saw Sinai Peninsula of Egypt, it caused me to want to know what that meant.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Wagner.
I haven't looked at the substitute. Does this need an emergency clause?
Yes, it does. It should have a emergency clause on it.
I did
right
not see it
on
on
page 3.
Okay, okay, got it. It's on a separate page.
The short answer is yes.
Okay. I just didn't see
Any
it.
further questions? If not, Senate Bill 230, amendment in the nature of substitute, is before you with an emergency clause. It's been moved and seconded. If you'd open the roll, please, sir. If you report the vote, please, sir.
Aye 16, no 0.
The bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hanger, I believe that completes our docket. I
Okay.
thank all of you for being here. With that, the committee will rise.